I have changed the computer. So first of all, let me share these slides. So CR, can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, have we started this problem already? Example 3 or not?
Yes, sir. Normal.
Okay, no problem. I may check. मैं इसको भी चेक कर लेता हूँ. Okay, last time your section is A. So actually we have started and we have computed the geometric properties. So we have computed the moment of inertia and also the centroidal locations. Okay, so no problem. I will give you the overview again. Okay, before starting, let me start the recording. Okay, Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Okay, dear students, last time we were solving this example, and in this example we have already determined the centroidal points and the moment of inertia about centroidal axis. So let me give you a very quick overview again. So actually this is a problem that is related with unsymmetrical section. So it means that we are going to compute the flexure stresses or the bending stresses when an unsymmetrical section undergoing biaxial or unsymmetrical bending. So you already know that the bending formula or the flexure formula is only applicable if the loading are passing through or acting parallel to the principal axis, or in other words, the flexure equation or the bending formula is only applicable if the moments they are given about the principal axis. So if we want to use the flexure formula, we must know all geometric properties and loadings with respect to principal axis. But for unsymmetrical section, principal axis they are different from centroidal axis. It means that if the load is not passing through or acting parallel to the principal axis, it means that the beam or the cross section will undergo biaxial or unsymmetrical bending. So in this case, the very first step would be the determination of orientation of principal axis. So to determine the orientation of principal axis, we require geometric properties about centroidal axis first. Then we can use the transformation equation to transform all geometric properties and loading from our given uh, uh, reference plane to principal axis. So in this particular beam, we are having a cantilever beam which is having a length 3 meter, and it is subjected to a point load at free end, and the magnitude of the load is 6 kilonewton. And this beam is comprised of an angle section with longer leg dimension 200 millimeter, shorter leg 100 millimeter, and having a uniform thickness 20 millimeter. It is also mentioned that the longer leg is in vertical direction. So beam is subjected to a downward load of 6 kilonewton that may or may not pass through the centroid, but actually that is acting parallel to the vertical axis or vertical centroidal axis. So what we're supposed to do, we need to compute maximum bending stresses, we need to compute the orientation of neutral axis, when this beam is subjected to endpoint load and maximum deflection. And also we need to plot the stress profile along periphery of this section. So to plot the stress profile, we need to determine the stresses at all corner points. And to determine the deflection, so we already familiar that the maximum deflection in a cantilever beam subjected to endpoint load can be computed by this formula. So delta will be maximum at free end, and for a cantilever case, the maximum deflection can be computed by this way. So last time we have already discussed how we can compute the centroidal point or centroidal location first. So since this is the unsymmetrical section, so we can divide this angle into two parts. So we can use the moment of area by parts method. So I have already explained in my previous lecture. First of all, we can compute the centroidal location x bar and y bar. So we have already computed 24.3, and y bar value we have computed 74.3. So x bar is 24.3 is from this left face. So if the total dimension is 100, so centroidal location from right face will be 75.7. Similarly, the centroidal location from the bottom surface is 74.3, this one, and from the top surface that is 125.7. So after determination of centroidal location, we supposed to determine product moment of inertia. So product moment of inertia is the moment of inertia of this cross section simultaneously about x-axis and centroidal y-axis. So we are computing about the centroidal axis. So again we are using the area by parts method. We have split up the area into two parts. So area 1, so we are computing the area 1 multiplied by the moment arm of area 1 with respect to centroidal y-axis and centroidal x-axis. So A1 is equal to 180 into 10. We have already seen in our previous lecture, total dimension is 200. So if we subtract this 20, so the length of area 1 is 180 and thickness is actually that will be 20. So by mistake I have written here the 10. So you're supposed to write here 20. Anyhow, the answer is correct. So I will correct it. And x bar is the moment arm of this area 1 with respect to y-axis, or you can say that is the x coordinate of area 1. So this total dimension from this vertical axis to this point is 24.3. So if this total dimension is equal to 20, so centroidal location will be in this center or 10 millimeter from this face E and F. So 24.3 minus 10 will be 14.3. So I have already told you that here in this equation you need to substitute the x1 and y1 value with their quadrant sign. So this area 1, it is having centroid in second quadrant, so its x coordinate will be negative. And similarly y1 will be the total distance from here, or centroidal location of this net area from top surface is 125.7. This total dimension of area 1, length of area 1 is 180. It means that this centroidal location will be at 90 millimeter from this top. So 125.7 minus 90, answer will be 35.7, and that will be positive because in second quadrant y value or y coordinate is positive. Similarly, area 2, which is 100 into 20, and area 2 it is having centroid in fourth quadrant, so it means that its x value will be positive and y coordinate will be negative because it is in the downward direction. So first x. So we are having this total dimension 100. So centroidal location of area 2 will be at a distance of 50 millimeter from this side. So 75.7 minus 50, answer will be 25.7. And similarly, if we are watching from the top, so centroidal location in y direction, the y centroidal location from of net area is 74.3. 74.3 minus 10, because thickness of angle section is 20, so centroid will be at half distance, half of the thickness from bottom surface. So 74.3 minus 10 will be 64.3. It will be negative because y is in the negative direction or downward direction, because centroid of area 2 is in the fourth quadrant. So after computing, the resultant answer for the moment of inertia is minus 5.14 into exponent 6. So I have already told you that product moment of inertia, it may be negative or it may be positive. But the second moment of inertia or moment of inertia about x-axis and y-axis, they will always be positive entity. So similarly, we can compute the moment of inertia about centroidal x-axis. So first we are computing, we are dealing the net total area by parts or into two parts. Moment of inertia of area 1 about its own centroid is 20 into 180 cube divided by 12. So this is the factor, or this is the moment of inertia of area 1 about its own centroid. So we need to transfer this moment of inertia from x-axis of area 1 to the x-axis of net area. So difference of their two x-axis will be moment arm in y direction. So area 120 into 180. So difference of x-axis of area 1 to the net area we have already computed here, 37.5 square. So by parallel axis theorem, we have transferred the moment of inertia of area 1 to from its own centroid to net area. Similarly, moment of inertia of area 2 about its own centroid will be 100 into 100 into 20 cube divided by 12. Then we shall transfer from its own x-axis to x-axis of net area. So A2, difference of x-axis of area 2 and x-axis where we want to transfer the moment of inertia is 64.3, that we have already computed here. So moment of inertia about x-axis is 22.68 into exponent 6 millimeter power 4. Similarly, you may compute the moment of inertia about y-axis. So moment of inertia of area 1 about its y-axis will be 180 into 20 cube, because we are computing the moment of inertia about y-axis. And then area 1 into difference between the y-axis of area 1 to the y-axis where we want to transfer the moment of inertia is 14.3. So here you need to substitute this value positive. Even though you are substituting this value as a negative, that is not going to affect the answer, because the square of negative value will always give the positive answer. So that's why second moment of inertia is always positive. So even though you are putting the second negative value, so that is not going to differ the answer. So moment of inertia of area 2 about its own y-axis is 20 into 100 cube divided by 12 into A2, difference between the y-axis of area 2 to the y-axis where we want to transfer is 25.7, that we have already computed. So moment of inertia about centroidal y-axis is 3.84 into exponent 6 millimeter 4. Okay, now we are having as geometric properties about centroidal axis. So we can determine the orientation of principal axis by already derived equation. So we are having this equation theta p. We have derived this equation in our earlier lecture. So minus half tangent inverse 2 times of product moment of inertia divided by Ix minus Iy. So our reference axis is the positive x-axis or Ix. So in this equation, you need to substitute the values with their respective. So it means that x principal axis or x bar axis is oriented in counterclockwise direction with a magnitude of 14.31 from x-axis. So similarly, y-axis will also be deviated with the same magnitude from its respective y-axis. Now what we need to do, we need to determine geometric properties or second moment of inertia about principal axis. So we may use the transformation equation. So these transformation equations are similar to the stress transformation equation. So only where you are having normal stress, you are having moment of inertia, and where you are having the shear stresses, you are having product moment of inertia. So there is only basic difference. For example, for sigma x bar, you are having positive sign here and also positive sign here. But in Ix bar equation, you are having positive sign here, but instead of positive, you are having negative sign. So difference is only here. And all the other equation, it is perfectly identical to the stress transformation equation. So in this equation, if you substitute the values, for example, I have substituted the value of sigma Ix, moment of inertia about x-axis, and also the value of moment of inertia about y-axis, and I have taken exponent 6 common at outside. And similarly, in this equation, I have substituted the values. So if the theta is negative, then you need to substitute this value with negative sign. But here we are having positive theta, so that's why I have substituted the value positive. And product moment of inertia, it will be negative. So in this equation, if you are using plus sign and here the negative sign, so you will have the value of Ix bar, which is 24 into exponent 6 millimeter power 4. And if you are using negative sign here and positive sign here, you will have the value of Iy bar or moment of inertia about y principal axis, and answer will be 2.53 into exponent 6. So here if you want, you can apply the check. You will see that summation of moment of inertia about principal axis and about centroidal axis, they will be constant. You may have some rounding error. So it means that the summation of moment of inertia about any arbitrary axis will be invariant or constant. But they have their maximum and minimum value about principal axis. For example, Ix bar is having value 24 and Iy bar, this value is 2.53. So this is the maximum possible value of Ix bar, and 2.53 is the minimum possible value of moment of inertia about y-axis, which is only applicable or possible about principal axis. About any other reference x-axis, so the value will be less than 24. And about any other reference y-axis, the moment of inertia value will always be more than 2.53, but their summation will be same. So Ix will have its maximum value about principal axis, and similarly Iy, it may have its minimum value about principal axis. So it doesn't mean that Iy will always be minimum. Maybe Iy may be maximum and Ix will be the minimum. So one of the value will be maximum and the second value will be minimum about principal axis. But the summation will be constant about any other arbitrary axis. Okay, next we need to compute the moment. So actually we're supposed to use this equation. So in this equation we have already I told you that this equation is only applicable if all values moments y bar, x bar and Ix and Iy, they are given with respect to principal axis. So for symmetrical section, actually the centroidal axis, they are also the principal axis. So we don't need to transform the moment of inertia from central axis to the principal axis because they are same. So since we have already discussed that this equation is only applicable about principal axis, so it means that all entities or all factors in this equation must be with respect to principal axis. So we have already determined I x bar, I y bar. So now we need to determine the loadings or movement about principal axis. So how we may do? So I will explain by two methods, so you can use any one. So load is acting in downward direction or along y centroidal axis, and this y centroidal axis, it is not the principal axis. So principal axis, they are having different orientation with respect to principal centroidal axis. So x bar is having deviation of 14.3 from x axis, and y principal axis, it is having inclination theta p from y axis. So load is acting downward direction, so this angle will be same. So I am using two concepts. Number one, I am transforming the load into two components, and each component must be acting along one of the principal axis. So I know the angle from y axis. So the component of the load which is acting along y principal axis will be referred as a py bar, and that will be the cos function. Why? Because angle is given from y axis. And the component of the load which is acting along x principal axis will be the sine function of theta p. So if I'm resolving, you can assume that this is the quadrant 1 with respect to principal axis. So if you resolve the load into two components, so horizontal component is acting like this, and vertical component along principal axis is acting this way. Okay, second concept, if you want to discuss directly in terms of movement. So if the load is acting downward direction, so first of all, what I'm doing, I'm determining the resultant movement. So if the load is acting along y axis, so the resultant movement will produce about x axis. So movement always produce about the axis which is perpendicular to the loading plane or loading axis. So it means that if the load is acting in downward direction or along vertical axis, it will produce the moment about x axis. So, but next question is that whether this moment vector is acting or it is directing toward the right side or left side. So this direction of the moment vector you can perceive by right hand rule. Actually, we are dealing with the cantilever beam. In case of cantilever beam, if the load is acting downward, so the tension will be at the top surface. Moment will be maximum at fixed port, and the top surface is undergoing tension, and the bottom surface will undergo compression. It means that opposite to the load, we must have compression, and toward the loading direction, we must have tension. So what we supposed to do by using our right hand, so we need to place, it means that if the moment is acting about x-axis, we are assuming this x-axis will become the neutral axis. So it means that in case of cantilever beam, load is acting downward, so the bottom part must be in compression and top part must be in tension. So it means that you need to place your finger of right hand in the compression side. So the direction of the thumb will be our direction of the moment vector. It means that moment vector must be acting in this way, that it will be perfectly compatible or showing the tension on the top side and compression on the bottom surface. So that you will use if you are dealing with the moment concept. So here there is a diagram where I'm dealing only the load component, and this is a diagram where I'm dealing the moment component. So anyhow, if you can determine the resultant moment first, so resultant moment is acting along x-axis. So Direction of the movement vector I have determined by right hand rule. So movement vector, it is having angle from x-axis. So the component of the movement which is acting along x bar or x principal axis will be referred as a mx bar, and that will be the cos function of this resultant movement. And the component of the movement vector which is acting along y principal axis, it is will also acting away from the origin, that will be the sine function of movement, resultant movement, and that will be regarded as a movement acting about y axis. So here for the cantilever beam, resultant or maximum moment will be at free end, which will be equal to P into L. So if you want to determine the moment acting about x-axis, so moment about x-axis will be the function of the load which is acting in y direction. So P cos theta P into 3 will be the moment acting about x-axis, and the value will be 17.44 kilonewton into meter. Moment about y-axis will produce due to the load which is acting along x-axis, because moment always produce about the axis which is perpendicular to the load. So moment which is acting along y-axis can be computed by using px bar. Px bar is p sine theta multiplied by length, that is 4.44. Or what you could do, you can determine the resultant moment here, which is P into L. So if you are taking the m cos theta, so m cos theta will be equal to mx bar, and m sin theta P will be equal to my bar. So you can see here. So the answer will be same. Okay, next is, actually if you want to determine the stress only at one point, so equation you can substitute all the values separately. But if you're supposed to determine the values at all corner point or at multiple point, for example point at corner point 1 2 3 4 5 6 point, so you will see that in this equation for entire cross section movement will be constant, and moment of inertia it will also be the constant. Only variable will be y, and y is the distance of any point from x principal axis, or that y bar is the coordinate of any point, y coordinate of any point with respect to principal axis which is under consideration. Similarly, moment due to my bar is distributed along the x side, so my bar iy bar will be constant, and x bar will be the x coordinate of the point under consideration with respect to principal axis. So we will see that how we can compute. So y bar and x bar, they may be variable with respect to or with reference to the point which is under consideration. But for the entire cross section, mx bar, ix bar, my bar and iy bar, they will be constant. So if this parameter is constant, so why not to compute this parameter separately to further simplify this equation? So I have simplified this. I have already computed the factor mx bar over ix bar. So mx bar value is 17.44 kilo Newton into meter. So I want to convert into Newton and millimeter. So I need to multiply with exponent 6, exponent 3 to convert the kilo Newton into Newton, and exponent 3 to convert meter into millimeter. And moment of inertia about x-axis is 24 into exponent 6. So after substituting the values, so ratio between moment of applied moment about x principal axis to the corresponding geometric resistance about x principal axis is 0.727. So actually the moment of inertia is resistance against rotation, that is geometric resistance against applied bending moment. Similarly, you may compute my bar over iy bar. So my bar is 4.44 into exponent 6 Newton into millimeter, and IY bar is 2.53 into exponent 6. So answer is 1.755. So now we are going to substitute the values here. So mx bar over ix bar is 0.727 and my bar over iy bar is 1.755 x bar. So this is a general equation. So total stress due to the moment acting about x principal axis and y principal axis at any particular point can be computed by this equation. Okay, next is that if you want to determine the stress, for example, at this point, and I have referred this point as a point A, let's suppose. So in this equation, we must have y bar value with respect to principal axis. So y bar value will be parallel to the y principal axis or from x principal axis. And x bar value will be the coordinate of this point in x bar direction or along the x principal axis or from y principal axis. So we need to determine. But actually, most of the cases, we know the coordinate of all points with respect to centroidal axis. So we can use this equation that we have already derived to convert the coordinate of any point from centroidal axis to principal axis. So y bar is the y coordinate of point under consideration, which is the function of y cos theta minus x sin theta. So theta is the principal axis or difference between the orientation between the reference axis to the principal axis, and y and x, these are the coordinate of point under consideration with respect to centroidal axis. So this equation, these are applicable for positive theta value. Positive theta means if the orientation of principal axis is in counterclockwise side. If the orientation of principal axis is in clockwise side, then this sign will be positive and this sign will be negative. I have already explained you in my previous lecture over here. So for example here, because I want to compute the stresses at all point A, B, C, D, E and F. So I have made a table. So in this table, first of all, I need to write down the coordinate of all points with respect to centroidal axis. Then I will explain how we can compute this coordinate to the coordinate with respect to principal axis. So first of all, let me explain here. So in the here, you need to mention or write down the coordinate of all points with their quadrant sign. For example, point A and B, they are at a same x distance from y centroidal y axis. So this value is 24.3. Centroidal y centroidal location is 24.3. Thickness is 20. 24.3 minus 20 is the distance from of point A from y centroidal axis or in along x centroidal axis will be 4.3. So I have put this value with their quadrant sign because in the second quadrant x value will be negative and also in the third quadrant x coordinate of point B will also be negative. Similarly, point F and E, they will x coordinate minus 24.3 and for point E also minus 24.3 because point F and E, they are in second and third coordinate. And similarly for point C and D, they will have their x coordinate positive and their value will be 75.7. And now the y coordinate. So y coordinate of point A and F, they will be positive because they are above the x centroidal axis, and their value will be 125.7. You can see here. And similarly, point B and C, they will have their y coordinate in the negative direction, and their value will be 74.3 minus 20, which will be minus 54.3. So I have indicated with the negative sign. And similarly, the y coordinate of point D and E, they will have their value minus 74.3. Okay, now here I have shown the sample calculation only for point A. So in this equation, just substitute, if you want to compute YA bar, so YA is 125.7 into cos 14.3, which is the theta p, minus XA is minus 4.3, so you need to substitute the value with its quadrant sign and sine 14.3. So YA bar will come out to be 122.85. XA bar is equal to X cos theta plus Y sine theta. So XA is 4.3 minus 4.3 and YA is 125.7. So answer is 26.97. So in the same way, you can compute the X bar and Y bar value for point B, C, D, E and F. Okay, here the values, the negative sign and positive sign with the values, they are just indicating their quadrant with respect to principal axis. But when we are going to use their values in this equation, so in this equation, X bar and Y bar value, we need to substitute as a positive. So for example, if for point C, C bar value is negative, so we will substitute this value positive. But we need to substitute their sign with respect to their with respect to tension or compression concept. So now I want to compute the stress at point A, B, C, D, E and F. So here I have shown the two diagram for sign convention. So this parameter mx bar over ix bar is 0.727 and my bar over iy bar is 1.755. So if I want to compute the stress at point A, so YA is 122.85 and XA is 26.97. Just see here. Similarly for point C, XC is 59.93 and YC is 71.32. So YC is 71.32 and XC is 59.93. So all X values and Y values I have substituted as a positive. And just these negative and positive sign we have to perceive from this sign convention diagram. So I have split up the diagram into two parts, just like I have explained here. So this diagram I have split up into two parts. In one diagram I have shown the load which is acting along the Y principal axis separately and the load which is acting along X principal axis separately, just like here. So I told you that if the load is acting along Y principal axis, then the moment will produce about X principal axis, and the axis about which the moment is acting will become the neutral axis, and one side of neutral axis will be in compression and other side will be in tension. And which side will be in compression and which side will be in tension, we have to perceive from right hand rule or by the concept of our end condition and loading. So in case of the cantilever beam, if the load is acting downward, so opposite to the load we will have compression and toward the loading side we will have tension. Or you can also get the sign convention from this moment vector, just that I have shown here. So if the moment vector is acting in this direction, so if you are placing the thumb of your right hand in the moment direction of the moment vector, So finger direction indicate negative sign and the wrist direction indicate tension. It means that due to mx bar or moment acting about x-axis, only point A, F, they are undergoing tension, and point B, C, D, and E, they will having compression. So just see, I have substitute the positive sign with A and F, and I have used negative sign for all point B, C, D, and E because due to the moment acting about X principal axis, they are undergoing compression. And this is the sign convention diagram for the moment acting about y-axis, because if the load is acting along x principal axis, then the moment they are acting about y principal axis. So again, if the moment is acting about y principal axis, so y principal axis will become the neutral axis. So one side of the neutral axis will be in compression and other side will be in tension. So if the load is acting from this side, so opposite to the load, we will have compression in case of cantilever beam, and loading side will be in tension. Or you can perceive the sign convention from right hand rule. Place the thumb of your right hand in the direction of the moment vector. So finger directions are indicating compression side, and the wrist direction they are indicating tension. It means that due to the movement acting about y principal axis, point B and E, they are undergoing compression, and all other points they are subjected to tensile stresses. So just see, I have used negative sign with B and point E, and I have used positive sign with all other points. So this is the principle of superposition. We have computed the stress separately due to the moment acting about y-axis and due to the moment acting about x principal axis, and then we are uh, computing their summation. So the maximum tensile stress and its value is 136.64, and maximum compressive stresses they are acting at point E, and the value is 121.6. So here I'm going to give you 5-minute break. So inshallah after 5 minutes I will continue. Abdul
Yes, sir.
Hanan. Okay, good. Okay, please now mute. So Abdul Hanan, can you see the slides as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
I
good.
can see.
Good, thank you. Okay, now let me start the recording again. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, before break, we have computed the stress at all points. Okay, now we are discussing the plotting of stress profile along periphery. So first of all, what we will do, we can plot the stress along this left surface, along surface F and E. So this is our basic reference line, and you will see that at point A we are having stress value 136.64, and at point F we are having stress point E minus 121.6. So at point E we are showing the stress component on the left side because this is negative 121.6, and at point F we are showing the stress component on the right side to this reference line because this value is 104.8. So if you will join the value 104.8 to this negative value, it means that the stress value it's changing, or it's changing from 121.6 compression to 104.8 tension when we are moving from E to F. So the stress value is increase. So we are having stresses are 0, or where the negative stress value is changing to the positive stress value. So if you draw a reference horizontal line, so you can mark this point along this surface EF where the stresses are 0. Similarly, if you are plotting the stress profile from point E to D, first of all you need to sketch a reference line corresponding to 0 stress. At point E we are having stress 121.6, so this I have sketched on the bottom side, and at point D the stress value is 30.53. So, or you are indicating the value on a proportionate magnitude. So this value is 30 from compression to tension when we are moving from E to D. And then in between we are having one point where the stress value is 0. So you can mark this point by sketching a reference or construction line in vertical direction. So this point on this surface will be this one, so where the stress will be 0. So we are having one point on surface FE where the stresses are 0, and one point where the stress is 0 on surface ED. So if you are joining these 2 points, then you are having neutral axis. So 2 points where the stresses are 0, if you are joining, then we are having a line or an axis along which the stress will be 0. So this is the graphical determination of orientation of neutral axis. So if you are sketching this diagram on a proper scale, and if you are measuring the angle from x principal axis, so this value will exactly or approximately will be equal to the value 67.55 degree that you have computed by this equation. Okay, next you can also plot the stress distribution with reference to top surface and with reference to right surface. So I'm going to explain this. So if I'm watching this cross section from the top side, so the first point that I'm watching from the top side will be F. So when I'm moving from F to A, B and C, so point F, so this is our reference line. So point F is having stress value 104.8, and at point A we are having stress value 136.64. So stress is increasing from point F to A when we are moving from F to A. Then from F to A, then the second immediate point that we can see will be point B. So first we are moving from F A, and similarly at the same point we are having points B. So what is the stress at point B, which is minus 68.4. So it means that we are having fluctuation from positive to negative value. So we are moving from F to A, then immediately we are coming down to C, B for B value, and the stress is negative 68.4, and at point C 53.3, and again we are having positive value at point C, so stress again changing along Okay, next is computation of deflection. So I told you that deflection formula is only applicable about the principal axis. So it means that we will determine the deflection by component also. So delta x bar is the component of deflection along x principal axis, and this deflection will be produced due to the load which is acting along x principal axis, because load which is acting along x principal axis will produce the deflection along x principal axis in the same direction, and this will be equal to PL cube over 3EI. So when you are computing the delta x bar, so you need to compute, you need to use the component of the load along x direction, but the moment of inertia will be in perpendicular axis, about the perpendicular, because the load which is acting in x direction, it will tend to produce the bending moment about y axis. So it means that all the cross section, they will also offer resistance about the same y axis. So moment of inertia will be about the axis which is perpendicular to the load. So the reflection along x principal axis is the function of the load which is acting along the x direction, but the moment of inertia about y axis. So Px bar is equal to P sine theta. So in this equation, substitute all values in Newton and millimeter. So P is 6000 Newton, sine theta P is 14.31, and the length of cantilever beam is 3 meter. So in millimeter that will be 3000 millimeter. So power 3. And I'm assuming that the angle section is made of steel. So E value of steel is 2 into exponent 5, or 200 gigapascal, or 200,000 megapascal. So EIY is the moment of inertia about y principal axis. So the component of deflection along x principal axis is 26.38. Similarly, deflection along y principal axis is the function of the load which is acting along y axis, but the moment of inertia about x principal axis. So substituting their respective values, Ix bar 24 into exponent 6 and Py bar is equal to P cos 30, because we have already seen here Py bar is equal to P cos 30, or P cos theta P. So we are having the component of deflection along y the Pythagoras theorem. So maximum deflection is equal to under root of the square of delta x square plus delta y bar square. So maximum deflection or the resultant deflection is 28.54. Okay, here I have shown the deflection into vector, or in their vector component. So delta x bar is the vector or deflection which is produced in the direction or along x principal axis, and delta y bar, it is the movement of centroidal point or deflection of the section along y principal axis. So I have shown by vector delta y bar. So delta x bar value is more, which is 26.38, and delta y bar is having lesser value, which is 10.9. So by using law of parallelogram, so this will be the resultant deflection. So now I want to compute the angle of resultant deflection from maybe any y axis, or you can compute from the x principal axis. So if I want to compute from y principal axis, so this orientation will be exactly equal to the beta value or the orientation of principal axis. I will explain in next slide also. So if the angle is given from y principal axis, so this component will be base, and this will be perpendicular, which is equal to delta x bar. So tangent beta bar will be equal to perpendicular over base, which is delta x bar over delta y bar. So I can say that beta bar will be equal to tangent inverse of delta x bar over delta y bar. So if you compute the value, so this answer will be exactly the same orientation of principal axis. So as I have already explained, you can also determine the orientation of principal axis from deflection formula, because deflection formula, they are also derived from theory, from flexure formula or from bending theory. But actually the beta value that you have computed is from x principal axis, but this value is given from y principal axis. Actually this angle and this angle will be same, and actually this will not be the principal neutral axis. So neutral axis will always be perpendicular to the resultant deflection, or you can say that resultant deflection always occurs about the principal axis. About principal axis means that resultant deflection will always be perpendicular to the neutral axis, or neutral axis will always be perpendicular to resultant deflection. So I have shown this diagram on larger scale. So this is our resultant deflection. So I have shown an axis which is perpendicular to this resultant deflection. So this will be neutral axis. So neutral axis will always be perpendicular to this. So this angle, if this is beta bar, so this angle and this angle will be same. Okay, you can assume that this beta bar is 60. If this is 60, then the angle between this neutral axis and resultant deflection is 90. So this angle will be 30, because 90 minus 60 will be 30. And if the resultant angle between x principal axis and the y principal axis is 90, so it means that 90 minus this 30, this angle will be 60. So it means that this angle and this angle, they are same. So you can also determine the orientation of neutral axis from deflection formula. Okay, next, there is a one practice problem for you. So in this practice problem, I have changed the dimensions of this angle section. So the length of the angle I have given 250 millimeter and the width as 125 millimeter, and the thickness of angle section is 15 millimeter. So I have also already provided the centroidal points. Only difference is that load is not acting along y centroidal axis, rather it is acting at an angle of 65 degree from x centroidal axis. So concept will be the same. You need to determine the orientation of principal axis first, then you need to transform the load from from load along the principal axis. So there is another practice problem, you need to solve it yourself. So this problem I have taken from the book Mechanics of Material by Andrew Peitel, second edition, and that is problem number 11.27. So an angle section whose dimensions are given is used as a purlin. So this section is used as a purlin which is simply supported and having the length of 12 feet long, and it is subjected to a UDL load, or uniformly distributed load, of 200 pounds per feet. The slope of the roof is given 1 into 4, 4 horizontal and 1 as a vertical. You need to okay. So how you can evaluate? You can determine the stress at point A. So you will determine the flexure stresses by using both orientation. So the case which is induced or subjected to less stresses will be more suitable or less critical. So the case which is subjected to higher stress will be more critical or will not be suitable. So dimensions I have given. So 2.5 is the distance from central axis to the top surface and bottom surface, and dimension from centroidal y-axis to the point B is 3 inch, and thickness is 0.5. So here a little bit explanation I have given. For example, here if you are using this orientation B, for example this orientation A. So in this orientation A, so let me copy also. Actually here just I'm going to give you the hint how you are going to solve. So if you will determine, so again there is a, Yes. Okay, for this angle section, the product moment of inertia will be positive. So if the product moment of inertia is positive, then theta p will be negative. So when you will determine orientation of principal axis, that will be negative. Negative mean that x principal axis will be deviated in clockwise direction from central x-axis. So this one. So this will be x bar and this will be y bar. So actually, if the load in this direction, if the load is acting in the gravity direction, so if you determine this angle, alpha angle will be the angle of the load from centroidal y-axis, whose value you can determine by this formula. So if you are rotating this section and bringing into the horizontal plane just for the convenience, so it means that and the load is acting at an angle of alpha value from y central axis. Just I have shown here p value is the inclination of load, and inclination of the load is alpha from this axis. So when you will determine theta p, so theta p is also negative. So it means that this is the y principal axis. So y principal axis is also in clockwise side. So this will be theta p. So actually you need to determine the difference of the angle or inclination of the load with respect to principal axis. So you require this angle. So total angle from centroidal y axis to the principal axis is theta p. This is theta p. And if you subtract alpha from theta p, then you are having this angle. And this angle will be theta p minus alpha. So the component of the load which is acting along this direction. So this is the y bar. This is the y principal axis. This is py bar, and angle is given from here. So this component will be p cos theta p minus alpha, because you need to use this angle. And the component of the load which is acting along x principal axis will be sine function of theta p minus alpha. So if you are using this orientation, in that case everything will be same. For example, central axis will be same, orientation of the load alpha will be same, which is on the clockwise direction. But only difference is that in this case product moment of inertia will be negative, so theta p will be positive. So orientation of principal axis will be in counterclockwise direction, theta p. So this will be x principal axis and this will be y principal axis. So principal axis will be on the other side. So angle of the load from centroidal axis is alpha. So theta p is the orientation of the principal axis from y. So you need to determine total angle of the load from principal axis. So this total angle will be theta p plus alpha. So the component of the load which is acting along y principal axis will be p cos theta p plus alpha, and this component will be p sin theta p plus alpha. So you will determine the component accordingly. So I will stop here. So before the next lecture, so I will just after the lecture, I'm going to share the video recording of radius of curvature method. So when we are having the lecture tomorrow, so I'm not going to